Hey everyone, it's Dr. Sarah Mitchell from Helping Babies Sleep. I'm a chiropractor by training, but found my passion empowering parents like you to teach their little ones to sleep and parent confidently day and night. And if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to hit subscribe to never miss a baby sleep tip. Today we're talking about the 3 to 2 nap transition and why it can be one of the hardest transitions out there. Okay, so let's talk about it. What is it? Well, it's when your child is reducing the number of naps per day from 3 naps down to 2 naps. This tends to happen around the age of 8 or 9 months. Yes, there's outliers. It could be early as 7. It could be as late as 10. There are 2 things that you need to be able to make this transition happen gracefully. The first one is that your child needs to be able to comfortably stay awake close to 3 hours between naps. If they can't, what ends up happening is you have a long awake time before bed because you have the naps starting earlier in the day, and then it's now 4 hours, let's say until 6 o'clock. And staying awake 4 hours before bedtime at this age, to me, is too long. That's usually the awake time of a 12-month-old. What does it matter if your kiddo stays awake too long to try and preserve a schedule? Well, many kids get a little bit overtired. You can maybe be able to get away with it 1 or 2 days in a row, but what happens over time is you start to accumulate a little bit of a sleep debt there, and if they're overtired, they often are harder to fall asleep at bedtime, but you also tend to increase your chances of night wakings. So that's why we say it's generally important to stick kind of within the awake times that are given for your age. These awake times are actually based on one of our amazing sleep systems called your sleep pressure or your homeostatic system. What's that based on is that our blood accumulates a protein, and that accumulation happens, and when it peaks, it tells your brain that it's time for a nap. And as our babies are growing more quickly than adults, that accumulation happens more quickly and you need more naps. So as their rate of growth tends to slow down, you'll find that your little one needs to nap less. For example, look at that newborn period. They're growing exponentially. They need to nap almost every hour, right? And now it's slowing down. Okay. So those awake times are observations based on that process. And so, for example, your awake time at 6 months is often 2.5 hours, 7 months, 2 hours, 45 minutes, 8 months, 3 hours-ish, 9 months, 3:50-ish, 10, 3.5. Okay. So if I keep my 8-month-old up 4 hours before bed, I'm probably going to have a really tired, fussy baby by bed. It's going to be harder to fall asleep and harder to stay asleep. So to recap that, the first thing that you need is that your child can comfortably stay awake 3 hours between naps and bedtime. If they're exhausted by 2.5 hours, they're not ready to make that 3 to 2 nap transition just yet. All right, and if you're watching and have any questions, please feel free to post them in the comments. The second thing that your child needs to be able to do to successfully transition gracefully down to 2 naps is to be able to take naps that are longer than 45 minutes. Longer than 45 minutes. If you're going to have 2 naps, ideally we're getting still 2 to 3 hours of nap time in per day, and you're seeing, somewhere maybe the first nap's an hour, the second nap's an hour and a half. Could be an hour and a half the first nap, hour and a half the second nap. It could be 45 minutes first nap, 2 hours second nap. As long as you're falling in that total daily hour range, that's the most important thing, and that your kiddo's waking up happy and content and not crying after that nap time. Okay. So here's the thing. If your child cannot take a nap longer than 45 minutes, what's going on here? One daytime sleep cycle is 45 minutes. So your child isn't connecting, as one of my clients called it, stitching the nap cycles together. So they wake up and maybe they were nursed to sleep, or maybe they had a pacifier to fall asleep, but they go through one sleep cycle and then bing, they're looking for whatever helped them fall asleep in the first place. Okay. So they don't really have strong self-soothing skills. The irony in this, there may be some of you out there right now who are like, yeah, but they sleep 11 hours without waking up at night, but then they won't nap longer than 45 minutes. I see that it's not uncommon, okay? But there's probably more people in this group that are still stuck with 45-minute naps at this age that still have multiple night waking because they're not connecting those sleep cycles. They're getting nursed back to sleep, having a pacifier or be reinserted or being rocked, something like that in the night as well. So if that's your challenge, you can only get 45-minute naps in. We can work on 2 things. The first one is just to double check your timing, because I've definitely kids get put down too early and take 45-minute naps. Too late, it's also a problem. You got to find that sweet spot for napping. So for example, if you had an 8-month-old and you're putting her down 2 hours in the morning and she's only taking a 45-minute nap, the first step would be, why don't you push her closer to 2.5 or 3 hours, see if that will help elongate the nap naturally. The second step is much, much more complicated. It's basically the big question: how do I teach my baby to sleep? How do I teach my kiddo to self-soothe so that when she surfaces from a sleep cycle, she can use that same self-soothing action? And maybe it's, rubbing a piece of material or rubbing her head into the back of the mattress, something to relax back down into the next sleep cycle. That's a much bigger question that I teach in all my classes. Okay. The third thing that can complicate this stage is sleep regressions. So anytime you hear sleep regression, I want you to think growth and distraction. So my little person is distracted by a thought or an action that they want to practice, and that prevents them from going back to sleep. Adults have sleep regressions all the time, right? You woke up at 5, you thought about that big work deadline, you thought about your pending pregnancy, your big wedding, you couldn't go back down to sleep. Okay. Our kiddos are distracted by something, or they're in pain. They surface and they're distracted by the swelling in their gums, and they can't relax back down into the next sleep cycle, or they don't have the skills, they have to call for you to come do it. Right? Your child teething, we see on all the blogs, and I do it too, right? 4 months sleep regression, 6 months, 8 month, whatever. 4 month is absolutely legit. All those other ones can pretty much vary in time because kids get teething. Teething is one of the major sleep regression things. They can get those at different times. That being said, I have definitely noticed that a lot of first or second teeth, like the upper teeth, are often coming in around 7 or 8 months. And then around 11 and 10 months, you're getting the canines, the more painful teeth again. And what happens with those, as I just alluded to, is you have these early morning wake ups. And so when your kiddo wakes up at 5 and you can't get her back down, that is not going to be a 2-nap day, right? You're going to have to fluctuate back to a 3-nap day to be able to get that bedtime later than 6 o'clock. Okay? So you're going to have to pivot, which is kind of the next point about nap transitions, is that they are never black and white, meaning you don't turn the page on the calendar and be like, okay, we're on 2 naps today and we're going to be on 2 naps from here on in. It doesn't really work out that way. You're still going to have some naps that are a little bit shorter. You're going to have some awake times that are a little bit shorter as your child's getting used to staying awake longer, and it will fluctuate over maybe a week to 2, and finally you'll be on 2 naps. And this is true for any nap transition that you go through. It will fluctuate a little bit before it becomes steady state. Okay. The other thing that often happens where parents miss is when you go to 2 naps, your bedtime will become earlier to accommodate that change. Okay, as early as 6:30 even, let's say, and you think, oh no, they're going to be awake at 5 or 6 in the morning. Potentially, but if you keep them up too long before bedtime, they will also be up at that time anyway, and you may have night waking. So more sleep is better. I often see parents start to have 5 a.m. wake ups when they go to the 2-nap transition because they didn't adjust their bed timing to be earlier, and now their kiddo's overtired and waking up at 5 a.m. And the number one reason for 5 a.m. wake ups is I'm overtired. The second one is I'm teething. The third one is I'm going through a motor leap. The fourth one is it's too cold or it's too light. And the fifth one is one of those things happened and now it's stuck and now I have a habit going, essentially. So how else can I help you today? So here's what we can do. I want you to go and download my awake time chart. That'll give you the awake time, how much sleep they need, how much awake time they need by age from 0 until 2 years of age. You can click on that. I'll put that in the comments to help you. Okay. And then if you're going through the 3 to 2 nap transition, right, assessing if your child is being put down too early or too late, right? They're overtired, checking that timing, and also are they connecting their sleep cycles at 45 minutes? And if not, that is a bigger question, but I'll be teaching next week in the group a big masterclass on all of those topics. Okay, great to see you today. Have a good one.